what it is Pleasanteeism is the idea that you would rather deal with long-term consequences of not getting work done or doing something incorrect in the moment versus short-term trying to please your boss.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to ProfitDig Live. Hey, if you're here, subscribe to the channel. We hope you like some of our videos. Jeff, what's going on, man?
Not much, Chris.
If I had, Jeff Spencer, when he's with us, he always has this slogan or this saying. I don't know.
Yeah, he's pretty clever.
I'm going to skip it. Yeah, we're just going to skip all that, man. Yeah, so, hey, we were having a discussion earlier, pretty interesting topic. And I think, I'd say everyone, maybe not everyone, but a lot of folks today have experienced this firsthand. And it's all this, like, Pleasanteeism.
Pleasanteeism. Yeah. So there's a bunch of different concepts going around in the workplace right now. Now, smaller companies might not feel it as much.
Yeah.
Especially if you only have a couple people working for you, but especially like the bigger an organization gets.
Sure.
And like the younger your employees become, you start dealing with things that historically companies have not dealt with. And Pleasanteeism is something that, I guess it's existed forever, but with all of the kind of emotional challenges and mental health issues that we're seeing cropping up in the younger generation, it's something that's affecting people a lot more often than maybe you would have seen 20 years ago. So what it is Pleasanteeism is the idea that you would rather deal with long-term consequences of not getting work done or doing something incorrect in the moment versus short-term trying to please your boss or please your coworkers.
Okay.
So, for example, if you have a deadline, if you're not going to meet that deadline, someone who's dealing with Pleasanteeism, they may lie or at least conceal their progress because they'd rather not deal with it in the moment. And either consciously or unconsciously, they would rather deal with the fallout later than deal with that situation in the moment.
Do you think more of that is experienced in a remote workforce, or is it sort of all over the place? I'm
not sure there's any correlation to going to work every day physically versus working from home.
Yeah.
But I think it's more related to the younger generation's challenges that they're facing. And it's not just the younger generation. I've seen this. I've worked on a global team for years where I'm working with people from all over the world. And India especially has a challenge with this. Like you'll work with someone from India and they would rather agree with either the progress of a project and let it fail, which sounds weird, but they have like a caste-based society over there. And when they're speaking to people that are managing them or that are in leadership roles, they'd rather save face as long as possible. Even if the end result is magnitudes worse, they'd rather put that off.
Okay.
You remember when you were a kid and you knew you were going to be in trouble, like you knew it was going to come out. But if you could just push it down the road,
as long as possible. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but this is, and it's not just for like deadlines and things. It could be just in agreeing to workload, right? Like maybe the position that your employee is in, they just keep taking more work.
Okay.
And you don't notice it until, like as a manager, you wouldn't notice it until things start to fail.
Yeah.
And instead of being able to manage their time, which is a healthy thing to do, and managing their communication skills with their direct reports, the managers don't know
Sure.
that they have overloaded their employee.
Yeah.
And they would rather continue to look positively or be pleasant.
Sure. Yeah.
In the moment.
And I guess unless you're having to, physically demonstrate this on your computer to a team or management, then, I mean, you can sort of kick the can, so to speak, until your number is gone.
Right. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I don't, I could see this happening in larger construction companies. Like, I could see that happening. I think on a small scale, the work so well that you would know capabilities.
Sure. Yeah.
But as your company size grows, your connections from upper management to the people that are doing the work in the field are going to be so distant that if you don't have a good communication at each level, good transparency between each level of your hierarchy, you're going to see challenges like that, especially if you're hiring younger employees.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I mean, and there's so many other factors too that go into construction. I mean, for one, you can't always ask your crew or crews that, hey guys, we're going to work, 18 hours today.
Right. Well, yeah. Acceptable working conditions.
Acceptable working conditions. Yeah. Weather conditions. I mean, so many factors out of your control.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think is the driver here? I mean, because
the driver, so like the underlying cause of something like I don't know if I'm really qualified to answer that. I would just say look for.
You have an opinion on it? Or?
I would say look for those patterns. I mean, when you see a situation of like today's youth coming out of school, at least even just in terms of education, like when I was growing up, there were expectations of parents to be involved in your grades and like just even at a house level, there were expectations from parents to kids and that still exists today, but homes are a lot more broken now than they've ever been.
Sure. And to that point, I mean, it's like I have 2 kids in high school and they don't bring report cards home. There are no report cards to bring home. Everything is digital now, so yes, my wife and I, we check in periodically before the report cards are due, just got to see how are we pacing here. But, there are families who may not.
Yeah, so, well, and
until it's too late.
That coupled with the fact that, the public school system is struggling right now.
I'm sure.
Right? So not just like in funding and hiring good talent, but teachers are frustrated that they're having to teach just to meet the expectations of test scores rather than properly educating kids. And then on the flip side of that, teachers can't teach the class well because half the kids in the class are coming from really bad home situations.
Could be.
Like how are you going to teach a kid algebra, when he's worried about,
his next meal?
Is his terrible dad going to show up
or that
cause a domestic violence situation? And I mean, it sounds ridiculous if you come from a nice home environment.
Yeah, but it is.
And it exists everywhere and a lot. Now, kids are struggling, and once they get out of school, we've lowered the standards for them to graduate. They make it through school, and then they get into the workforce where the expectations, like there are real consequences that maybe they haven't had to deal with ever.
True.
Because maybe they're missing parental figures that, and it's not their fault.
No.
But they've gone through life to that point.
Yeah.
Either being privileged to the point where they don't understand consequences, or they've had no one to care for them to explain what consequences are. They get into a job, and now they start facing consequences, and the immediate reaction, just like when you're a kid, is to push those things off or just to be pleasing to your authority figures.
That's interesting. Yeah, you may be onto something there. Well, good stuff, Jeff.
I'm not a behavioral psychologist. Maybe we should disclaimer.
That's good. Good
This
point.
is not medical advice.
Not medical advice. No. Nor do we necessarily have an opinion on public school and teachers and their abilities and everything else.
But I do think it's important to say though that like there is a lot of potential in the younger generation, especially since they haven't had the opportunity to really showcase what they're capable of.
Yeah.
A lot of them especially young men, are looking for purpose. And if you can foster that, they've been so starved for it for the, 18 or 20 years that they've been growing up. When they finally get a chance to experience what progress and what, successful fulfillment of tasks and building something can look like, a lot of them can be very, very successful.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than you would expect older generations.
Yeah.
It's just a different type of work ethic than you've dealt with,
Yeah.
historically in business.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just in life in general.
There's a guy that does a bunch of videos and like TED Talks and things. I want to say his name is Simone Sinek. It's something similar to that.
Familiar,
But he's got a lot of videos about the younger generation, and every older generation, and I hate to say it, but we're older generation now. Not old generation or older.
I'll say that.
Every older generation looks down on the newer generation, just like every older generation's music is better than the newer generation's music. And everything you grew up with was better than what people are growing up with now.
Right.
But
you and I don't do that though, because we have kids in the next generation. I mean, it's
I try to keep an open mind in that regards, and I try to teach my kids, what I think is the right way to live.
Absolutely.
They're fortunate enough to have, our kids are fortunate enough to have parents that do care about them and are actively engaged in their lives.
Yeah.
A lot of kids out there don't have that, but this guy, this Simone Sinek, he's got a ton of videos about the new and upcoming generation on how you should deal with them and what their motivations are, because I don't know what their motivations are, but a professional like him, check him out. He doesn't owe us any money for a sponsorship.
He doesn't, and you're welcome, by the way.
But you are welcome on the podcast, Simone, if you ever want to contact us. But I found a lot of his videos really interesting, and they explain a lot better than I ever could. I just know PSA, don't be afraid to hire someone young. Just be prepared that it's not going to be what you're used to, especially if you're someone a little older.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jeff, good stuff, man. Good topic. So I guess we'll wrap it here, and I'll see you soon in the next video. And guys, while you're here, hey, subscribe to the channel, like the video, check us out. Looking for what we are fairly certain is the world's easiest to use construction bidding and costing solution. You can find it at ProfitDig.com. See you later.
Have a good one.